I'll get started on, wait, I remember now. You must be the one who saved me years ago, said the alien queen. The air on Zypher was thick with a scent of salt and metal. A planet torn between beauty and ruin, its city sprawled across the surface like ancient ruins clinging to life. I stood at the edge of the balcony, overlooking the vast expanse of the alien city below, the lights flickering in the distance as the twin moons hung low in the sky. I had been away from Earth for years, now years of war and wandering. It had all started with a chance encounter, a mission that had led me far from home to a place I never imagined would become so important to me. The memories of that time flooded back like a wave breaking against the shore. It had been a simple rescue mission, at least that's what I thought. The alien ship was under attack, and the crew was in peril. I had been the only one to make it aboard before the enemy forces overwhelmed the craft. What I didn't know then was that the person I saved was no ordinary alien. Her name was Queen Alfira, the ruler of the Zyphorian Empire. At the time I had no idea who she was. All I knew was that she was a woman who needed help, and I was there to provide it. I hadn't expected gratitude or reward. It had been just another day on the job for me, but I had been wrong. When I rescued her from the wreckage, she had been gravely injured. I had done what I could to help her stabilize, but there was little more I could do. I'd never expected her to survive, much less for our paths to cross again. But here I was standing on a balcony in her palace years later. The doors behind me opened softly, and I turned to see her enter the room. She was the same, yet different. The grace and poise of a queen still emanated from her, but there was something else in her eyes, something that made my heart skip a beat. The same eyes that had once been filled with pain and fear now held something deeper. Recognition. I remember now, she said, her voice steady and commanding yet filled with strange wonder. I stood frozen, unsure of what to say. What do you mean? She stepped closer, her regal form casting a shadow over the marble floors. You were the one who saved me, she said softly. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my composure. The memory was distant, but still vivid in my mind. I had saved her, yes, but it felt like a lifetime ago. The woman before me, the queen of Zypher, seemed so far removed from a frightened figure I had pulled from the wreckage. You're the one who brought me back, she continued. The one who carried me when I couldn't walk, the one who refused to leave me behind. I never thought I would see you again. My throat tightened. You were in danger, I said simply. I did what I had to. She looked at me intently, her eyes narrowing slightly as if searching for something in me. I thought I had imagined it all, she said softly, that the memories were nothing more than the remnants of a dream. I shook my head. It wasn't a dream. I was there. She nodded slowly, her gaze softening. I had wondered for years why I felt an inexplicable connection to you, why I could never forget you. Now I know. I didn't know how to respond. The years of fighting, the battles and missions, the endless struggles on alien worlds had all blurred together. I had never expected to meet this woman again, much less to hear that she remembered me. I had saved her, but what did that mean now? You become a legend among your people, I said, trying to change the subject. Your name is known throughout the galaxy. Her eyes flickered with something like amusement. Yes, she said with a small smile, but I wonder if my legend will become a curse. I frowned. What do you mean? She sighed and turned to look out over the city, her expression distant. I have ruled Zypher for many years now, she said quietly. And yet despite all I've accomplished, despite the power I wield, I still feel like a prisoner. A prisoner, I repeated. But you're the queen. She nodded, but there was no triumph in her words. I am the queen, yes, but I am bound by the chains of duty, the chains of my people's expectations. I cannot act freely as I once could. I must always consider what is best for my empire, for my people, even if it means sacrificing my own desires. I looked at her, then at the woman who had once been a stranger, now standing before me as a ruler burdened by her crown. That's not fair, I said quietly. She gave me a sharp glance, but there was no anger in it, only resignation. Fair or not is my reality. I stepped closer, not sure what compelled me to do so. I never wanted anything from you, I said. I never asked for anything in return. She raised an eyebrow but didn't speak. I just wanted to help you, I continued, and I didn't expect to become a part of your life. But now that I'm here, I can't help but wonder if there's something more. Her eyes softened. More, she whispered. You think there could be more between us? I swallowed hard, unsure how to answer. What did I want? I had no answers to that. All I knew was that there was a bond between us, something deeper than I could explain. It was a connection that started when I saved her, and now it seemed to be pulling us together again. I don't know, I said at last, but I think we need to find out. Her gaze held mine for a long moment before she nodded slowly. Perhaps you are right, she said softly. The days that followed felt like a blur. Queen Alfira and I spent hours in quiet conversation, navigating the delicate balance of our past and present. The palace had always been a place of power and authority, but for some reason when I was with her it felt different. It felt personal. She wasn't just a queen, she was a woman who had lived through hardship and lost just as I had. We spoke of many things, of the war she had fought to protect her people, and of the choices she had made as a leader. But there was something else there, a quiet understanding that seemed to pass between us unspoken. It was a bond that had formed when I saved her all those years ago, a bond that neither of us could ignore. One evening as the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the landscape, she took me to a secluded garden within the palace grounds. It was a place few were allowed to enter, a private sanctuary filled with strange alien flora that shimmered under the fading light. We sat on a stone bench beneath a towering tree, its leaves glowing faintly in the twilight. I have not been here in years, she said, her voice soft. This place was once my refuge, a place where I could think without the weight of my responsibilities. You should come here more often, I said quietly. You need time for yourself. She turned to look at me, her expression unreadable. I cannot, she said. As queen, I am always needed. My people rely on me. If I abandon them, even for a moment, they will think me weak. I shook my head. They don't need a ruler who never takes a break. They need someone who knows when to lead and when to rest. She looked away, gazing at the glowing trees around us. Perhaps you are right, but it is hard to let go of the constant pressure to be perfect, to always do what is best. I reached out and touched her hand gently. No one is perfect, I said. You're allowed to have doubts and fears. You're allowed to be human. She turned back to me, her silver eyes shimmering with something that might have been gratitude, or maybe just the weariness of a ruler who had long carried the weight of a kingdom on her shoulders. I don't know if I can ever be truly free from the expectations placed on me, she whispered. I didn't know how to answer that. All I knew was that I had seen a side of her that few others had ever glimpsed. She was not just a queen, she was a person who had been shaped by the world she ruled. A person who longed for something more than the cold walls of duty and obligation. You don't have to be alone in this, I said after a long silence. I'm here. She met my gaze, and her expression softening, as if she were finally allowing herself to believe it. You have always been here, haven't you? She said quietly, even when I didn't know it. I nodded slowly. I promised to never leave you behind. And I meant it. For the first time since we had met again, she smiled, a genuine smile, one that reached her eyes. It was a smile that held warmth and relief and something else too, hope. The next few days were filled with more conversations, more quiet moments shared between us. The bond that had begun with a simple act of rescue had grown into something far more complex. We had both been touched by war in different ways, and though our lives seemed to be worlds apart, we were bound by the same understanding of loss. But as much as we had grown closer, there was still the reality of our worlds to face. She was a queen of Zypher, and I was a soldier far from home. Our paths were not meant to cross, and yet here we were. I knew there was something between us, something that neither of us could ignore, but I also knew the consequences of crossing that line. For her, it meant to find the very institution that had made her who she was, and for me, it meant abandoning everything I had known. One evening, as the stars filled the sky above us, she took my hand in hers. It was a simple gesture, but one that carried so much weight. I don't know what to do with these feelings, she said quietly. I don't know if I can allow myself to care for you in the way you want me to. I looked at her feeling a mix of confusion and understanding. You don't have to decide anything right now, I said. We have time. We don't need to rush into anything. She nodded slowly, but there was a sadness in her eyes. But time is something I don't have, she whispered. Every day I feel the pressure of my people's expectations weighing on me. And every day I wonder if I am making the right choices for them. I cannot afford to be selfish. I squeezed her hand gently. You're not selfish for wanting something more, I said. You deserve to have a life outside your crown. You deserve to be happy. Her gaze softened as she looked at me. But happiness comes with sacrifice, doesn't it? She said. And I am not sure if I am ready to sacrifice everything for a chance at it. I didn't know what to say. I had no answers for her. I only knew that I couldn't stand to see her so burdened by her role. She had given so much to her people, but now it was time for her to live for herself. We can figure this out together, I said quietly, one step at a time. She leaned and then her forehead resting against mine. You have always been there for me, she whispered, and I don't know what I would do without you. I held her close, not knowing what the future held, but knowing that I couldn't let her go. No matter what happened, we would face it together.